Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of live commentary over a relay race, and the cubes that I'm comparing are my current mains on the left of the screen to my original mains on the right side of the screen. Now I've been wanting to do a comparison like this for a while now, and I finally got around to doing it. So as you can see, I've already gotten a lockup on my old 7x7. That wasn't very common, but it does tend to happen with the older cubes. Now, if you're curious about the cubes that I was using in this video, on the left, the newer cubes are the Angstrom Valk2 M 2x2, Celeritas WeiLong WR M 3x3, the Angstrom AoSu GTS 2M for 4x4, the Valk5 M, Cubicle Shadow M, and Cubicle Spark M. Now on the older side of things, on the right, I'm using the Dian 2x2, the Dian Guhong V2, the Yushin 4x4, the original one, Moyu Huachuang 5x5, Moyu Aoshi 6x6, and the Moyu Cubic AoFu GT 7x7. So around the time when I started speed cubing, Moyu came out with their original AoFu 7x7 and it was pillowed. And I really wasn't a fan of that design, so I wasn't inclined to buy it. But when I was looking into getting my first 7x7, I heard the rumors that Moyu was going to make a cubic one, and I had really wanted to get that. So when it came out, I ended up getting it, and that was my first ever 7x7. Obviously, I could have gotten one a bit earlier, but I decided not to, and I just waited and got the cubic AoFu. And it was pricey, but it was also really good. Now, the other cubes that I got around the same time were the Aoshi and the Huachuang. The Aoshi is just terrible. It is absolute trash. I don't know how anyone ever got any good times on it, but obviously Felix managed to pull it off. I hated that cube. Still do. And that cube definitely hindered my times in this relay. The Moyu Huachuang 5x5 was an interesting cube also because it was very expensive for the time. It was nearly $40 for a stock non-magnetic cube. Well, all cubes were non-magnetic back when I started cubing, but still. You can find much cheaper options today that have much better quality than the Moyu Huachuang 5x5. And that's one of the great things about the current cubing market. Granted, the highest tier puzzles are more expensive than they've ever been before, but at the same time, you can find really cheap puzzles that you couldn't really find before that still have really good quality. Another interesting thing that I wanted to point out about my old mains was that my first two cubes, the 2x2 and the 3x3, were both from Dian, and they were both stickerless. When I started going to competitions back in 2015, stickerless cubes weren't legal, and I had to go and buy different puzzles in order to compete. So I ended up going with the Guanlong 3x3 and the Aolong V2. I bought both of them because I was curious, and they had a very big price range, going from $4 to $16. And I ended up using the Guanlong in my first competition. They actually legalized stickerless speed cubes not long after I started competing, but since I already had my Aolong, I never actually went back to using the Dian Guhong V2, so I never ended up using it in a competition. What I did go back to using was the Dian 2x2. This was an amazing cube, and of the bunch, it's probably the only one that I would even remotely consider using as a current main today. The cube is still very good, and of the 2x2 through 7x7 collection, I think it's the one the least in need of magnets. I think the bigger cubes really benefit the most from having the magnets, especially 6x6 and 7x7. Keeping that stability is very crucial, especially if you have rather rough turning. It'll allow you to turn faster while still maintaining your control of the cube. It's also worth it to point out that the current 2x2 world record single was set on a Dian 2x2. So, it's definitely not a bad puzzle at all, and it was absolutely amazing for the time. Now, while there haven't been crazy improvements in 2x2 hardware over the years, there have been very big improvements in basically every other field. Now, definitely this will come into play with the bigger cubes. 6x6 has made huge leaps, even though they're still pretty, not that great, even by today's standards. The Shadow is an amazing puzzle, and so is the MGC, but of the 2 through 7 collection, they're definitely the worst. 7x7s are much more reliable for me in competition, definitely because it's an odd layer puzzle, and it's more stable. But still, 6x6 has a ways to go. Now, on the other hand, I think we've definitely basically perfected 3x3s. Right now, most of the major brands are working on customization, and that basically tells me that we've reached a point in the hardware where the cubes are basically good enough. They corner cut the way we want them to, they're very smooth, and the feeling is nice. Now we're working on customization. And that was something completely unthought of basically when I started cubing, especially by manufacturers, because they were just trying to figure out how to make the better puzzle. And when I started cubing, the AoLong V2 was pretty dominant. And speaking of the AoLong V2, MoYu in general was very dominant. You'll notice a lot of my older puzzles, especially 5x5, 6x6, and 7x7, were all made by MoYu. And there was a time where my mains from 2 through 7, all except for 4x4, were made by MoYu. And basically, MoYu was just absolutely killing it back in the day. Personally, I find that the Chi puzzles are the nicest ones out, in my opinion, in general, nowadays. But at the same time, MoYu still makes very nice puzzles. One thing that I found interesting when I was watching the film from this relay was that my turning on the older puzzles was very rough, and I think this was because I filmed the second clip with my older puzzles directly after filming the first clip with my newer puzzles. And I definitely feel that my turning can be a lot harsher and less accurate on my newer, nicer puzzles because they have better corner cutting, they're very smooth, and they're a bit more forgiving with their magnets to my rough turning style. Now, coming straight from that to old, tight, unlubed cubes, my turning style didn't really mix too well with that type of puzzle. And that's understandable. I didn't really change the tensions or settings on any of my older puzzles, and when I was using these puzzles as my mains a few years back, I never really bothered to lube them or really set them up in any way, other than 2x2 and 3x3. I lubed those, but 6x6, 7x7, basically I never touched them. I would drop a few drops of Maru or DNM in it when I wanted it to speed up, but for the most part I never messed with the tensions, I never lubed the core or anything. And these puzzles were pretty bad quality. So, obviously that's partially my own fault, and nowadays I'm spoiled with Cubicle Premium setups. But given that, you can definitely see the difference in setup quality between the older puzzles and the newer puzzles, and it does make a big difference. So as you can see, my times between the newer puzzles and older puzzles was actually very significant. Now the time I ended up getting in this relay for my newer puzzles was not quite my PB. The split times weren't really that great, but that was also partially because of the way I was transitioning between my puzzles. I didn't inspect all my puzzles beforehand, so my transitions were very rough, and also because of the way I framed this shot, all my puzzles were very far away and I had to reach kind of far to grab them, which was my own fault. But since I had to do that for both sets of puzzles, I figured it was fair. The goal of this video wasn't for me to set any PBs exactly. So, as you saw in this video, my 2 through 7 relay on the new cubes finished in just under 8.5 minutes. And originally I was planning on filming this video on a stack mat timer, but I realized that there was absolutely no way I would be able to finish the entire relay with just a stack mat, especially on the older cubes, because I was pretty sure I wouldn't be able to do it in under 10 minutes. And, well, I was right. Now granted, I got close, but I didn't quite make it there in the end. And that's one of the amazing things I think about Felix when I go back and watch his old relay videos. He was able to get like 6-minute relay times with these older cubes. I don't know how he did it, but that's just Felix for you. So as this relay video is drawing to a close, I just want to let you know that I've put links in the description to all of my current mains if you'd like to buy them from the Cubicle. If you'd like this style of video, please let me know in the comments below, and I would love to hear your thoughts. And I might even do more relays like this in the future. So that's about all I have for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.